In this video, we're going to learn how to use Adobe Illustrator, and this happens to be one of my favorite programs to use on a computer. So let's get going. We're going to click on the Create New button, and for this tutorial, I want a document that you could print, even though we're not going to. We're going to click on A4 because that's our standard size. And as you can see, Illustrator has just put this white sheet screen. I'm just going to put that in the middle. Let's just have a very quick look at what's on the screen in front of us. On the right hand side, we have this Properties tab. That's going to be really important in about 30 seconds. We also have a Layers button, which we won't talk about this video, but definitely in the videos that come later. On the left hand side, there's only a few buttons I'm going to talk about this video. That would be the black arrow, which is called the Selection tool. That you can reach just by pressing V on your keyboard. Next to it is the white arrow. That's in Illustrator called the Direct Selection tool, but I call it the white arrow. You can get to that by pressing the letter A on your keyboard. And all we're going to do today is look at the rectangle tool over here. Now, what we'll do very quickly is just click on the rectangle tool and just draw quite a big rectangle. We'll go to our Properties tab. And before we go any further, one thing I want you to learn is every time you draw something in Illustrator, type something or do anything, your next thing to do should always be to click on the black arrow or the letter V on your keyboard. And there's a reason for this. So let's just undo what we did. Let's say we draw a rectangle and we don't click the black arrow and then we try to resize. What's going to end up happening is we end up messing around and we can't actually do what we want because Illustrator thinks we just want to draw rectangles. So let's go back, click on the black arrow, and let's see what this black arrow can do. If I go to any one of the corners, I can resize and reshape this rectangle how I want to. If I go to one of the side handles, I can reduce its height or I can reduce its width. So in that way, I can control what the shape looks like. If I go inside to one of these round markers, click and drag, and I can turn my rectangle into a rounded rectangle, which is really cool. If I go to the corner and then go a little bit out, you can see that I can now rotate my shapes like this. So using all of those tools, I can make any shape that I want to. Now, if we go to the right hand side, we'll ignore everything in the transform section and we'll go directly to where it says appearance. A fill is the inside of your shape. So if I change its color, the inside fill changes. Now the stroke is the outline, the line on the outside of my shape. I can change the color to anything I want to, but for now I'll keep it at black. And I can also change how thick the outline is just by increasing the number there. For this tutorial, I'm going to stick to a outline size of 5, so it makes it very clear what I'm doing. And of course, in the opacity, you just click on the opacity and you can make the shape more transparent, fully transparent, or all the way back to opaque, which means not transparent at all. Let's just move that into the middle. So what can we do with Illustrator that we can't do with other programs? Well, Illustrator makes it very easy to take a simple shape and make it much more complicated. So let's for now click on the white arrow or A on our keyboard. If I click on my rectangle, nothing much happens. But the magic happens if I go to one of the corners and click on it. Now you'll have to look very carefully that this corner is blue. The other corners kind of have a little white dot, which means that I didn't choose them. If I now pick this up, I can kind of mess around with this shape until it is completely different from the shape that I had before. And that's really what Illustrator does best. You can take a shape and change it to whatever you want to so that you can make the shapes that you want to. So let's just go back to our black arrow. Let's move this back up. Now the only other tool I want to show you in this tutorial is just near the rectangle you see the line tool. And very simply, a line lets you click, draw a line wherever you want to. And this can be really useful when you need lines. Of course, a line has no fill, but it still has a stroke, so you can change how thick it is and you can change its color. So that's really easy to do. Once a line is drawn, you can use the black arrow to move it, like so. And you can use the white arrow to change the direction of the line. So let's say we want the line over here. I can click on one point of the line and actually change where it is, like so. So using just those few tools, you can use Illustrator to create some really amazing drawings and some really amazing illustrations. Now, before we leave this video, I thought it's worth mentioning something that Illustrator does better than any other program is alignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another rectangle, and in this case I'm going to make it green, like so. Let's make that a bit lighter so it's easier to see. And what's going to happen now is if I click on the black arrow and I want to align both the green and the orange rectangles, you can see what happens. Every time I move it near, these little pink lines come up and they start to tell me where the alignments are. This is really useful. So for example, if I wanted to move the green and the orange rectangle to the same base, you can see that the pink line is telling me where they're aligned at the bottom, just there. Now, if I wanted to align them in the center, you can see now that the center line comes up for me and equally the top one. It also works when you put a shape on top of a shape. And you can see, if you look very carefully, as soon as their centers come together, the shape kind of jumps into the center. So in this way, I can really, with confidence, line up any shape to any other shape on my page and know that I'm getting very accurate alignments going on. So for this video, that's all I want to talk about, is very simply using shape, lines, fill and stroke just to get you started on Illustrator.